If you're an entrepreneurial woman and you want to raise your profile and you want to be more visible and you want to go out there and be an expert in your industry, be a thought leader, be invited into more things, speak on stages, podcasts, etc., but you are holding back either with your visibility or you're actually holding back in speaking your truth because you're worried about being controversial, being cancelled, like that people will be upset about what you have to say, or people won't be very nice to you online. If that is the reason that is holding you back from going out there and speaking your truth, then I have a story to share with you. And the reason that I wanted to share this experience with you is that I truly believe that very often when it comes to being visible and pushing ourselves out of our comfort zone, very often the thought of doing it is actually worse than actually doing it. So we can get ourselves so worked up and so in our heads around what's going to happen, what are people going to say, am I going to be judged, am I going to be criticised, am I going to be trolled online? And then we kind of go into the rabbit hole of all the awful things that can happen to us. So we're kind of like that in our heads instead of actually dropping into our bodies and going, actually, I've got a message and I want to speak my truth about it, because if I speak my truth, it will give other people the opportunity to step into their truth, to be able to break out of whatever their limiting beliefs and the boundaries, the self-imposed boundaries, and so that they can actually step into transformation. So actually, when we're thinking like that, we're coming from a place of leadership. We're coming out of the fear. I don't want to speak my truth because I'm worried about what people will think of me. And we're actually stepping into the leadership. We're stepping into the love. We're stepping into the how am I going to be able to share my story, my wisdom, my gifts, my knowledge to help others through transformation. So I've wanted to share my story for quite a while, and those of you who have followed me for a while or have known me for a while will know that I was brought up as a Jehovah's Witness. I was actually born into it, and so my mother was also born into it, and my grandmother kind of went into it when she was about in her mid-30s. Okay, so not only was I born into it and had all the trauma of being raised as a Jehovah's Witness, but also a lot of love as well, I have to say. It wasn't all traumatic. I had an amazing childhood, when it comes to my parents, but there was a lot of trauma with it as well. I also inherited that from my mother because she was also born into it. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to tell my story from a place of transformation and empowerment. This wasn't me still in my wounds talking about how shitty Jehovah's Witnesses are and what a terrible organization it is and, how I'm suffering in some way. I wanted to tell it from a story of we can go through some real crap in our lives and really shitty situations, and actually we don't have to stay there, right? We can use it to leverage our own transformation, and we can step into the energy and the power of forgiveness, and we can use it as a motivation to help others. So that is the place that I wanted to tell it from. And I think probably if I told it about 10 years ago, then I would definitely have been telling it from a different place. So I was very, very lucky in the fact that I had a very supportive community around me. And I was put in touch with an incredible journalist who really understood the purpose behind my article. I didn't want clickbait. actually, even though the newspaper wanted clickbait, I wanted something that would be an inspirational story to others, because I know that there's a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses out there that are very, still haven't healed from that trauma. They're very confused, they're very upset, they're very angry. It's impacted their mental health. So I wanted to be able to give the opportunity to those people to be like, hey, don't stay there, like come over here, because it's really cool over here, like, because you can come through this journey and I've done it, so you can too. But also I wanted to use it as an example to other women to really help them to be able to share their voice, because that's what I do. It ties into what I do. I'm all about empowering women to be more visible and confidently expressed, so that they can create freedom in their lives and they can create wealth in their businesses. So it doesn't matter if you've been raised in a religious cult, or, you've got another childhood story or background that disempowers you, that stops you from going out there and being highly visible and speaking your truth. I wanted to use that as an example. So anyway, I was able to really be able to share that with a journalist and be very, very clear. This is what I want. Okay. And she created it for me and it was incredible. And I had final sign off and I have the say so. I didn't have say so over the title of the story. But that's fine, because I understand that, newspapers have their own people that are very good at putting together these titles that engage the audience, their audience, in order to read the story. But I was very, very happy with my story, and it went out in a national, like at the Sunday supplement of a national newspaper, UK newspaper, 2.2 million readership. And I was like, yeah, that'll do the job. This is what we want. I want eyes on this and I want a profile on this, because I also think that organizations like this need to be held accountable for what they are creating in people's lives, and everyone has a different interpretation of that, right? So I told my story from an empowered place, and I feel that I also told my story from a place of forgiveness and understanding. Like, I understand that, if you're in an organization like this, how difficult it can be to actually know the truth. So I wanted to tell it from this place. So it went out in the newspapers. I got a lot of interest from it. I had a lot of people getting in touch. I was invited into other opportunities to be in another magazine that came out two weeks after that. So literally I was in two very high profile national UK magazines in the space of 1 month, which was fantastic. I got invited onto podcasts, radio shows, to be interviewed around it. I was also able to leverage it on my own social media to be able to share it in mastermind communities that I'm a part of. And let me tell you that the feedback and the impact that I had on that was incredible. I was able to leverage it. I was able to be visible with my story. But this is what also happened. I had a lot of people that were reaching out to me that weren't happy with me. They just were not happy with me. And, people that are still in that organization, I was getting, I've been having a lot of trolls, abuse, personal insults, how dare yous, you're so ungrateful, la 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 la. You can imagine what's been going on in the DMs. It's not being stated out there on any comments. Nobody's been visible about it. So even though I've been very visible in my thought leadership and my story and what I wanted to create for other people to step into their transformation, these people are still hiding and sliding into my DMs and actually not being very loving about it. Now, I completely understand that, and I also expected it, because a lot of these people are scared. and confused. And actually, when someone like me comes along and shines a light on it, not from a place of victimhood or from a place of accusation, from a place of absolute love and empowerment, guess what? My life is incredible. I was brought up to fear other people. I was brought up to fear the end of the world. I was brought up to be submissive and subservient. And hey, I've turned my back on all of that, and look what I've created. I've created freedom and happiness and success in my life and my business. When you talk from that place of empowerment, it confuses people because they think that everyone who has forged a life for themselves and broken away is a bad person. Or, is unhappy, and then they're presented with someone who is completely happy. I'm completely happy in my own skin. I'm completely healed. I love my life. I have created freedom, and I am a fully empowered woman. It kind of disrupts the apple cart a little bit, and that was my intention. Now, if I hadn't done the work with myself in terms of really owning my own worth and loving myself and being very confident and self-assured in my message and who I am, those people would have really affected me. The things that they were saying to me, it's not been nice, and I'm sure it will continue. And I'm sure off the back end of this live, I'll share this everywhere, right? And I'm sure it will continue. And don't get me wrong, we're all human, and it's not very nice when someone reaches out and talks about you in that way. But here's how I reposition things, because it's only really, in the grand scheme of things, it's only really a handful of people that have reached out to me in that way. What's actually happened, and what surpasses that handful of people, is that people have been getting in touch with me and saying, thank you so much for standing out. Thank you so much for being a voice. I'm 50 years old. I'm 40 years old. I'm 60 years old. And I still haven't healed from my trauma. I still have nightmares. I still worry about things. This is, you've now shone a light on it. So I realized that I need to heal myself. I've had people that have been reaching out and saying, thank you for sharing it. In terms of my own visibility and, in terms of the work that I do, I've had people reaching out. I've now onboarded new clients from the back end of it. I have more people that have followed me on social media. I have more people that have joined my email list. I've had more invitations to speak. Now that all helps me in my visibility. And of course it helps to grow my business, and how incredible that is. But actually what it does is it gives me a bigger platform to be able to share my voice and my thought leadership and my interpretation of what it looks like to be a fully empowered, confidently expressed, visible entrepreneur. Because the more that I can demonstrate that, the more I can talk about it, the bigger audience that I have, the more people I can help. The more people that will be inspired by my truth. And to be honest with you, when people reach out to me in a troll-like way, I'm also really grateful for that, because I'm like, well, I've triggered you. I've triggered the fuck out of you. If I hadn't triggered you, you'd just ignore me. So you're coming after me because I've triggered you. And actually, if through that whole awakening, it creates you to then go away and question how you're living your life and how you're being controlled. And if it gives you the opportunity to then break free and to create your definition of freedom, then amazing. I'm doing my job. This is my purpose. This is my purpose in life. I'm here to repeat things again and again and again and again, so that I can create the transformation in the life of others. And if that means me ruffling some feathers and not being liked by everyone, and, you know, being controversial and not being vanilla, so maybe being like chili chocolate, maybe. I like that flavor ice cream. Or another flavor of ice cream that's not vanilla, like, then so be it. So the reason that I wanted to come and share this with you, first of all, was I just wanted to highlight that again, and highlight my story again, and bring forth all the possibilities that we can all create. But also, I just really wanted to speak to you if you're watching this and you really want to share something and you want to share your story, but you're worried about the trolls and you're worried about not being liked, then I just want you to know that it's not as bad as you kind of make it out to be in your life. And a very incredible mentor of mine, who has now sadly passed away, who spoke her truth all through her life and spoke out, and was also deemed to be highly controversial. And even though I loved her dearly, a lot of the stuff that she was talking about I didn't actually agree with. But anyway, I still loved her and respected her as my mentor, and a very influential woman in my life. And actually, through her thought leadership, actually had communities of people that created movements themselves that were against her. So she had a lot of controversy and a lot of trolling in her life. Which she always used to say, I use it as a phrase now, but I always reference her. When you go out there and you become highly visible and you speak your truth and you stand in your own convictions and you align with your values and you speak your truth, 33% of people are going to love you, 33% of people are going to hate you, and 33% of people aren't going to give a shit. And that is what happens. So actually focus on the 33% of people that are going to hate you. Not that are going to hate you. Well, focus on them, actually. Repel them. But focus on the 33% of people that are going to love you. What do you need to say that is going to help them today? What do you need to say that will help them to step into their power? And do that. Speak into that. And I am so grateful to my mentor, who is Guru Jagat, who is the founder of Rama Business School, and Rama Community and Rama freaking everything. I'm so grateful. I will always be grateful for her for really helping me to step into my visibility and my power. So thank you for watching. Thank you for listening to my story, for giving me the platform and the space to be able to share my experience with you. And I really hope that by sharing this with you, you are then able to give yourself permission and empower yourself to go out and to speak your truth, however freaking controversial it might be. Listen, whatever you say in this life, everyone's going to have an opinion about it. So you might as well say what you want to. Have a great day, everyone. Speak to you soon.